Beth Holden hadn't seen her sister Claire in years. Her search led her to the home of famous author Ethel Myrtle. When Beth arrived, she found her sister, but not how she expected. Claire had performed a ritual and bound her soul to the home. She had sacrificed her lover, her unborn child, and herself. But Claire wasn't gone just yet. She was possessed.
Deeply too. But what makes all of this so much harder to go through with is I'm also pregnant. Max doesn't know, and he won't.
But it has to be this way. He loves me. He'll understand, even if he doesn't know it's coming. That letter was written by a woman with a secret. The man she's writing about, Max, is a journalist that she fell in love with. The following morning, they were both dead. And the question is, why? Her name is Claire Holden, and she plays a central role in a psychological horror game series, Ethel, Claire, and the Butler by TS Games, the brainchild of solo developer Anthony Russo. Step back far enough, and this is one story, one bloodline, 5 centuries. There's something about this family that draws people in. To understand why, we have to go back. Not 10 years, not 50 years, 500 years, to a girl called Edith Holden, and a ruby that started all of this. (1460), England. A girl named Edith receives a gift from her father, a large ruby, a peculiar relic. It's crystal-like, and it glows. I'm sure that's fine. The ruby begins to whisper to her. She starts speaking in tongues. She begins writing in a language that she's never learned. Centuries later, this would be known as witchcraft. Eventually, Edith is executed for her practices. That happened a lot back then. But before she's executed, she writes a failsafe, a spell. Every 25 years, her descendants must recite this spell in front of her image. Her spirit and her powers will then transfer to the next generation.
Hold our family's traditions of witchcraft and magic, but use these gifts for the good of the world. Shun the dark arts that have brought such ruin upon us.
She ensured that the bloodline could never truly die. The women of the Holden family could pass this gift on, generation after generation. And this is important. The Holdens were never originally evil. Edith's power was never about domination or sacrifice. It was about preservation. It was about continuity. It was a way for knowledge to survive beyond death. The corruption came later. Eventually, some members of the family stopped treating the power as inheritance and started to treat it as entitlement. Some Holdens used those gifts to control, to harm, for power, or to punish those that they felt threatened by. We'll come back to that one later. So what do you do when the family tradition starts to fade? The Holden tradition has been fading for some time. Rituals, spellbooks, knowledge, all bleeding out. Soon after World War II, veteran Thomas Myrtle has fallen on hard times. He's got PTSD, he's recently just kicked a painkiller addiction, so his grandparents decide to take him in. His grandmother is the famous author Ethel Myrtle, and one morning she notices that her medication is missing. She confronts Thomas about this, but he insists that he didn't take them. Later that night, Thomas wakes up in her room, covered in blood, and no memory of what happened. He runs away, convinced that he's murdered his own grandmother.
I think I murdered my grandmother.
Newspapers report on the story. There's no body. As far as anyone's concerned, Ethel could be a missing person. In 1963, Thomas returns, and he discovers something shocking. His grandfather Arthur, knows the truth. He killed her. And why? He had spent years resenting his wife's fame. So he drugged Thomas's tea, staged the whole scene, and murdered his own wife in cold
When
blood.
you've got one soul dependent on meds to numb the pain, and another reveling in them for twisted delight, pitting them against each other is child's play.
Arthur, what are you doing with that?
You really are just a stupid writer, aren't you? Why don't I just show you?
Sweet dreams, Tom. You gullible pawn. Once Ethel was dealt with, I moved his body into her quarters. When he comes to, I'm sure he'll believe the terrors of the war made him do such a terrible thing. He won't suspect it was me.
He let Thomas carry that guilt for over a decade. Nasty. So how does a Holden end up in the Myrtle house? Well, Ethel Myrtle was the favourite author of Claire's mother, Anna. And when Anna died, Claire kept the books. Books of hope and joy. She found them to be a connection, a way to stay close to her mother, through someone else's words. Beth and Claire were twins. Both grew up in the family home, both learned about the family tradition. Sometime in the 50s, they fell out. Beth left, and Claire stayed.
I know we had our differences about keeping up the family tradition after Mother passed. It's your life, and I respect your decision. I guess what I'm trying to say is that I'm sorry.
And she had been alone in that house for many years by the time she met Max. She met him in a coffee shop, and she overheard that he was looking into a missing person case.
Next thing I knew, she came up and started asking me all about my work. I have a surprise. We're going to Ethel's house. I miss you, darling.
He fell for her very quickly. But none of that mattered, because Claire was more interested in something else. The Ethel Myrtle case was an obsession for Claire, and Max thought it could elevate his career. Famous author, missing grandson framed for the crime. That's the story. And when he found the Myrtle estate, Claire was pleased. It was the final piece to her puzzle. A final devoted act for her mother. Right there, in the attic. Because the final ritual wasn't about restoring the bloodline anymore. Claire had lost all hope in that. She no longer believed that the Holden line could be saved. That's where we came in, but not where it ends. Because Max was not the first sacrifice. And the baby? That wasn't Claire's first child. Fast forward 30 years, 1992. A man named Deacon Voss purchased the building that once housed his father's maintenance business. He opened an antique shop. His father's been missing since he was little, believed dead. And Deacon's theory? He thinks Claire killed him. His father, George Voss, was a maintenance man. He left all those years ago, but he never came home. Where was he going? Who did he meet? Deacon never knew, but he wanted to. He would ask his mum, he would make phone calls, he read articles on the case, but he never found the answers. That is until his mother's dying years.
About your father. Ever since that article came out, I can hear the question in your voice. Your father was seeing someone. She was younger. Her name was Claire. Claire Holden. She was pregnant. He told me he was going to meet her one last time to make arrangements. They searched her house, top to bottom. No blood. No sign of him. Nothing.
Deacon was fixated. He hired an investigator, Miles Archer, to investigate everything he could find out about the Holden family. He was making good progress as well. That is, until he went missing too. Miles had discovered something. Bethany was a Holden, and Claire was her mother. She had named her after her estranged twin and put her up for adoption. Before meeting Deacon, Bethany had inherited the house, and that's where she learned who she really was. But she kept this information from him. Deacon could hardly stomach it. His wife, a Holden, the very bloodline he'd spent years trying to understand, living under the same roof. This sent him into a frenzy. He murdered Bethany and their daughter Megan, destroying his own family, destroying all that had been tainted by the Holdens. He wrote a note, sketched the words, "I'm sorry," and then he took his own life too. Then he woke up. He was in their home. He was awake, but he wasn't alive. He was in limbo. Miles's wife, Betty, had sent a briefcase, secured with a lock. The police were making little progress. She hoped that whatever the briefcase contained might lead to some answers about her husband's disappearance. Deacon hadn't opened it, not yet. But now, trapped in limbo, he finally read what was inside. It was a birth certificate that revealed Bethany's father was George Voss, Deacon's own father. His wife was his half-sister. But as I touched on briefly, some Holden ancestors used their power for evil, to gain power, to punish or to harm others. Centuries earlier, their own Butler had been accused of trying to poison the family. He hadn't. It was the maid. But he didn't say anything. He protected her. The Holdens cursed him. They trapped him in a painting above the stairs, permanently. He was doomed to spend eternity there. But the curse carried a condition. A condition that Deacon had just met.
What kind of sick joke is this? Wait, I can't move. No.
Anyone who spills Holden blood takes his place. Deacon spent his days hating the Holden family, and through a cruel twist of fate, he was always going to become part of them. 3 games, 5 centuries, and one family at the centre of it all. What Tony Shoulders has built across 3 separate games is a deep, multi-layered storyline that spans across many years. These are not your simple haunted house stories. They're a study in what happens when power is passed down through generations of a family, and when each generation has differing views on what that power should be used for. Responsible heritage or powerful entitlement. What's clever is Ethel, Claire, and the Butler don't give you easy answers. They demand more questions, and they leave you wanting to know more. And that's master storytelling. I'm gonna go pop the kettle on.